you have joined us here on this first focus event about the SME, Ukrainian European EU SME Week. And we have defined a number of sectors which are very important, and the most important, of course, for us and for me as an Austrian, is the sector of tourism. The language will be in Ukrainian and in English. I will basically speak English because I have not really learned this beautiful language so well. And so I would like to welcome especially Evhen from the Raiffeisen Bank. It's very good that you're here. You can move a little bit in the front row, please. That would be the best to do it like this. We just organize the seating order. Everybody has the table correct. All the speakers have put on their presentations. The translation, like always, is excellent. We are very honored, and this is really a great opportunity that we can be in the Ukrainian Crisis Media Center. We are very happy about this. And this is now the third public panel about SME policy, and we are very honored that we can be together in this format this morning. I would like especially to say thank you to the Ukrainian Federation of Employers in the Tourism field, and this is very, very powerful partner for us. We are very honored. Tetiana as the president and Pablo as the secretary general. This is a very dynamic team, and I think tourism has the potential, I don't say just potential, but has the will actually transform Ukraine and the way business is done, and we are very grateful for this powerful partner. Thanks a lot for that one. And I will start now with a short presentation and outline, and then we work through the agenda with the speakers. I would like to welcome all representatives very much, and I would like to ask now for the start of the presentation on the Ukrainian European SME Week. Ladies and gentlemen, we have started just about 3 weeks ago with rolling out the Ukrainian European EU SME Week. This is a multi-stakeholder effort to combine a lot of SME-related stakeholders to really change the way business is done in Ukraine according to European guidelines. This is what we want to do. And today is SME in Tourism, Austrian model, driver of growth in all regions. We have made some major progress in the last 3 weeks. We had 18 stakeholders who have endorsed this agenda. We have UA-EU, the European umbrella of SMEs, who is supporting the agenda. The government has consulted a new strategy on SMEs. And also last week there was the very strong activity of the Chamber of Handicraft on SMEs, which was very successful. And also we are really in generally having a very good positive feedback also from the high authorities, because there was the EU-Ukrainian Business Summit in Brussels, and here, right, this is the right direction, this was that President Poroshenko, asked by UA-EU, was about the situation of SMEs, has somehow committed himself very clear. Mr. Poroshenko confirmed that the SME's crucial role for the Ukrainian economy and invited UA-EU to be a partner. This is a very important high-level endorsement, and we are very grateful for this. And it's also very necessary because the situation of SMEs in Ukraine is very dramatic. It is unfortunately really very, very dramatic in all aspects what you can judge, from land to capital to human resources, market access, inspections, taxation. It is really not acceptable. And it's really, in the last 20 years, I work as SME advisor in the whole Eastern Europe, Central Europe, the Balkans. Nowhere it was so bad. We have to change it, and we will change it. Good. There is a kind of assumption that Ukraine is a bit different. It is bigger, it is special, it's a different case or so, and the European recipes will not work. But it's not true. We just need the normal standard treatment of Ukraine as itself, as a European economy, and it will work totally fine. And the focus, what we propose this morning, is tourism as a driver of change for the whole culture. Just very shortly, where's the basis of this claim that the situation is not good? Land access is dramatically problematic, the land access. Yeah? I'm talking about the moratorium. I'm talking about many aspects of the access to land, and land is very important for the banking industry. Land is very important for the SMEs. Land is very important for tourism and agriculture. Land is a major obstacle. We will tackle that on the next week's event in detail. SME and capital. Also, you know, the interest rates, yeah, the whole situation of SME access to finance, dramatically problematic. SME and labor market. People are very educated, but the labor market, the combination of factors is not working. This cannot be continuing. SME mobility, infrastructure problems, goods and services, it's a really major obstacle for the way. So what is the proposal for today? Tourism should be a national priority for the development of Ukraine. An overreaching national priority declared by the president of Ukraine and committed to all stakeholders that tourism will change everything. And why? Where's the reasoning? Not just that I, as an Austrian, have experienced how tourism can change a country, but tourism brings, first of all, prosperity and employment to all regions, not just to the center of the cities. Tourism fosters a new service and hospitality culture. It changes basically the whole way institutions treat businesses and people. It's very powerful stuff. Tourism attracts foreign investment, tourism attracts foreign exchange, and tourism is a part of the marketing and branding strategy. This is very important. Every tourist is like an ambassador for your country outside, will talk surprisingly positive about the country, and will stay your friend forever. So attracting people is really very important. And tourism is the first step for SME entrepreneurship. It's an illusion to think that people will start mega companies, yeah, from the scratch. Yeah. The first one is the restaurant, the coffee, the hotel, the small guest house, the pension, for most businesses. And then you move up the economic ladder. Of course, you know, there's IT and other things as well, but the most important driver of the economic ladder upwards is tourism. Austrian model for Ukraine tourism sector, it's very important to have clarity in task between the different stakeholders. Everybody knows what to do and works according to a clear strategy. The public authorities on the municipal level and everywhere to be really committed to the topic. It's not just a business for drinking coffee. It's really very important to change the country. This is very important. The Austrian regions in the West, they are now richer than the Eastern regions because of tourism. It changes everything. Good. This is a little bit from the theory. All stakeholders. If we want to change it, we need the IT community, the municipal authorities, the education and training institutions, from the ISO certification sector to all the things, and the private sector. This is important all together. Little bit the strategic approach. Very clear targeted, very well structured, and also very clearly tourism is from culture, mountain, sport, family, winter, medical, events, summer, city, education, corporate, wine, diaspora, congress. It's huge, and every segment needs to be addressed. Also clearly, which countries to target and where really to go. This is important. The SMEs must be clear to choose himself or herself what to do. That's important. But the authorities need to find the right platforms to foster the discussion. For example, the Austrians, what we concretely do, cultural heritage and Austria, attract a lot of people on that platform. We have, for example, this activity, rediscovering our common past, in Western Ukraine especially, and to be ready for the common future. Make it attractive, make it interesting, and to promote it, and then gradually get more and more people from Austria. Just one market, but the same can be for every single market. So, Vienna and Kyiv, and here is very important, the capital plays a big role. Imagine the success of Austria, of Vienna especially. It has 1.8 million people, it's just half of Kyiv, and in 2005, 8.7 million overnight stays, and within a decade, we have doubled that enormous figure already. And it makes the city so rich. And Kyiv is the same wonderful potential like Vienna. Why not having Kyiv with all its tremendous cultural heritage to be as successful as Vienna and to be a magnet for European and global tourism like Vienna? Again, we call on all stakeholders to unite and to cooperate, endorse this activity. We will work sector by sector. And this is the platform with many of the stakeholders already. You are all invited. SME policy, in shortly, is openness to opportunity, decentralization of the economy, new focus on competitiveness, and obviously tourism as a central sector. This is the proposal. I'm very grateful that we can be together, and Ukraine will be a very, very successful country, and I'm honored that we have this opportunity this morning to discuss now with many important stakeholders. And I would like to start with, I think, Anton is from the city?
Kyiv City.
We are very honored. We were told that you have to leave early for obligations, so please, it's very important, as we have just outlined, a greeting from your side. The Kyiv City, as I've said, is such a beautiful city. You are so lucky in this beautiful Kyiv with these Byzantine treasures and the many opportunities, and we think that will be a magnet for tourism in whole of Europe, and you will be very successful, and we would well like to work very closely together with you. And maybe, Anton, your perspective on tourism, you're very welcome.
Okay, thank you. I have some...
Hello. Sorry. Late. Я не знаю, for English. Okay. Thanks a lot for this invitation.
English is the beautiful language of tourism, obviously.
Yeah.
No, please, Ukrainian.
Сегодня мы
Today we are talking about the whole world, big countries and progressive cities there. They know that tourism is an important component as an industry in such times when the world experiences economic problems. Tourism is a savior. So those towns and cities which understand this first in the aspect of hospitality and tourism, they motivate their destination mostly among foreign tourists. How tourism influence on economics of the city of Kyiv, how many tourists we host, how much proceeds Kyiv gets. Talking about what was said by Mr. Gunther Fehlinger, I agree with him 100%, and on my part, I would like to say that Kyiv is such an interesting city for many countries as a perspective development of industrialization, but tourism at our top rank leadership level, it isn't seen as an important component, but it is an important component of the development of the city of Kyiv. So now all these developments, this is the fight for the first opportunities, and we already have had achievements this year, and we hope to be more successful in 2017, 2018. The Eurovision will be hosted in Kyiv. We took part in the competition and we won as a city. And some calls from mass media, some allegations from them, they are not true. The Eurovision competition contest will take place in Kyiv in May 2017. Such achievements as Euro 2012 and Eurovision 2017, they will help to develop infrastructure, including tourism infrastructure. So we plan very many developments in Kyiv. The first is tourist navigation, tourist information centers, and opportunities for those. The first places which tourists will see in Kyiv City, these places should demonstrate that our city is really European-like, and we should provide information in English and in 2 or 3 other foreign languages, so this component is very important for us. Please switch on my presentation. I will give you several examples how during recent 3 years we made achievements. Look, here we see comparative table of tourist flows to the city of Kyiv. What increment do we have between 2014 and 2016? In 2016, we will have the figure as we can see on this table. Despite certain economic crisis in our state and certain instability of situation in the east of Ukraine, tourism is an example, because 20% increase in foreign tourists flow to the city of Kyiv. This is an efficient development comparing 2014, 2015, 2016. In 2015, we get 1.8 million of foreign tourists. This is more than 2 million increment in tourist flow in general. We can see that the number of overnight stays in Kyiv also is increasing. 1.5 overnight stays indicator increased to 2.5 overnight stays. We can see in this table the distribution of tourists arriving to Kyiv. In previous periods, the tourists were mostly from Russia. Now they are mostly from other foreign countries such as Israel, USA, Turkey, France. Talking about post-Soviet countries, Belarus and Azerbaijan are also major countries. How much proceeds we get from tourism in the budget of the city? The first indicator, 1% of tourism tax, it goes to the budget of the municipal budget. Talking about 2015, it was 13 million. This is record high indicator among other cities, even such as Lviv, which attracts very many tourists, but they gained up to 2.5 billion hryvnias. Business tourists, they also come to Kyiv, so 1.3 billion hryvnias entered the budget of our city. 1.3 billion only for overnight stays in hotels, and 2.3 billion came to budget thanks to tourist accommodations in the hotels. Only 45% of hotels, they really provide data to the statistics service, and so we just don't know this informal data. It seems to me that 10 or 15% of economic influence on the city of Kyiv comes from tourism, catering, and hotels and tourist operators. They fill the budget of the city. Foreign tourists spend at least 100 euros daily. If we count those tourists who will arrive to watch Eurovision to Kyiv, we can say that 25 billion euros will enter the budget of our city next year. This is very much talking about figures. Tourism is an economic industry, economic sector. Until you invest at least €1, 1 hryvnia, you can't get gain. So I call on all governmental authorities, all branches, not only Kyiv, but also in other cities, to study opportunities of tourist destinations. They should study specific opportunities, how to invest into this industry. 2017 year will be very important for Ukraine and Kyiv specifically. We can become the first city, not only in Ukraine but also in Europe, by tourist flow. So I call on not different people to help us develop an efficient and new for us tourist destination, the city of Kyiv.
Yeah, Kyiv will be a very successful city. It has such a golden Byzantine treasure. It is really an amazing magnet, and it will be on the same level like Vienna in the future. And let's work together, and also let's see the opportunity in business for SMEs together. It needs a lot of investment, and that's why I'm also grateful to see the Austrian-Ukrainian bank Raiffeisen Aval this morning here with us. And maybe you can outline some of the opportunities from the view of Raiffeisen Aval Bank, how to really finance SMEs in the tourism sector, and what's your experience in that sector. Thanks a lot for coming, and looking forward to your contribution.
Дякую за запрошення.
Thank you very much for invitation to speak. Returning to Mr. Gunther's slides, among overnight stays mentioned of tourists in Vienna, there are some my overnight stays. What tourists also face in other countries, they use taxis, and Vienna is an example which Kyiv should follow in organization of taxi business. Talking about Raiffeisen Bank, Aval, and SMEs, tourism is one of the priorities of our bank, and I agree with Kyiv City Administration. We should prove everything with figures. Aval demonstrates very good profit this year, and 1/3 of this profit comes from SMEs. We have over 100,000 active clients from SME sector. Active clients, they are clients who work, who conduct many transactions, effect many transactions on monthly basis. We have legal entities and entrepreneurs looking into this mix. It is rather balanced, and it corresponds to the mix of industries in our country in general. Talking about investment, we can see some disproportion. We understand this. We understand that services and tourism industries are underfinanced by our bank, but to change the situation, we need to put efforts on the part of our bank and on the market. How it happened? Raiffeisen Bank Aval put less funds because of the second crisis. Tourism as a business decreased in Ukraine, but now it is reviving. When the increase when the crisis happened, we get less profits. We should have now we have our programs being curtailed, but we think of restoring them now, and we hope that we will drive economy of Ukraine in future. What obstacles we see besides our domestic rules, our in-house rules? We can give loans to those clients who work using bank accounts. We can see their cash flows. We understand that most our clients, many big proportion of our clients, they work not via bank, by using cash. This is an obstacle because this gives growth to shadow economy. The next is pledge, collateral. Big loans, big amounts of loans, they are given against collateral. And SMEs, they don't often have collateral to provide the security. Also, land can be used as it can be pledged. So, looking into these obstacles, our bank supposed to increase amounts of collateral-free loans, and we will take part in initiatives on the market, such as development and implementation of maybe grants to some profiles of clients from SMEs. This form of guarantees, it is also it will be considered by our bank, but as far as I know, so far we are waiting for recommendations from the Ministry of Economy, which profiles of clients will be targeted under the target national program. Well, that's maybe all.
I've personally seen it, how it can transform the tourism sector, can transform country. In Albania, Montenegro, the banking sector was a strong partner. Also, the credit card companies like Visa were a strong partner. And then suddenly, you know, the whole system works much better. All the stakeholders, we have seen a very strong commitment today from the city administration. Anton, thanks a lot. Together with the banking sector and together with the Employers Federation, obviously, and all the stakeholders, a lot can be achieved. And in 2-3 years, the whole of Ukraine looks totally different already. Thanks a lot for this, Anton, and now for Yevgeny. And now I would like to ask you to represent also the perspective of the SMEs and the employers in the tourism sector. Tetiana, the floor is yours.
Доброго ранку всім.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yesterday, I was preparing my report for this event, and I believe that there will be people who understand the importance of tourism. We know each other, and we know that tourism is good. It is everything for us. So I focused at the idea, and for our European colleagues, it would be interesting. I would like to focus on our experience, and maybe Gunther will be interested in this information, because we, as a professional organization, we made a lot in order to focus the attention of the state and the public on this issue, to start development of this area, and to do it according to the rules that exist in the world, and to create powerful tourism industry, to make it bright and profitable. So we start 2 years ago. There were several people who dealt with these issues. They gathered and they developed a roadmap for reforming tourism. We did in accordance with some principles, multipliers in tourism. We included different indicators, and so we were not speaking about emotions. We were speaking the language of figures. The data was used. So we addressed the ministry, and we were supported by Mr. Abramovichus, the Minister of Economy at that time, and we held a contest for the position of the advisor on tourism to the minister, and this was done publicly according to all necessary procedures. And we see the winners here on the slide, and they started their successful activity at the Ministry of Finance to develop infrastructure, organization, and to create institutional mechanisms in order that tourism would develop. So the next step was to initiate a parliamentary hearing at the Supreme Council, and that was done successfully. According to the results of the parliamentary hearing, they adopted the provision on recommendations. And also, we should state that these hearings were not held for 14 years. So that was a success of our group. And we have the instrument in the form of regulations, the act that envisages the steps that should be made in order to develop this industry. Next, we created an expert council with the view to get involved in the process of development of legislative acts that are needed. And there are several such acts that were developed concerning the transfer of funds that are accumulated due to tourism tax, and this is for the development of tourism to the special funds of local budgets, and to create special funds. So this money, they should be spent for the development of tourism. That was the main idea of this legislative acts. They are registered. These draft laws are registered. They are in the Supreme Council. So the issue is when they will vote for these legislative acts. So next, we initiated the creation of the interdepartmental body, advisory body, And you know that tourism accumulates and absorbs a lot of different areas, more than 50 fields of economy, different areas. So it is difficult to deal with these issues in one ministry. So we decided to create a coordination council headed then by Vice Premier Kyrylenko. And this body was created, but the meeting of this body was held only 2 weeks ago, and it was created a year ago. Next, Federation of Employers as a representation body. They addressed to sign an agreement on a social dialogue, and this is important instrument. Trade unions as ideologists of rights of hired personnel, they sign such agreements with governmental bodies in order to create this stakeholder mapping to get all the stakeholders in one platform in order to solve the problems and to create a roadmap how to move forward. And this agreement was created. There is a draft of such agreement. This initiative we addressed in December last year, and still this agreement is not signed. Negotiation continue. Federation of Employers, together with the platform of development of public and private partnership, and we will be speaking about at during our meeting. The instruments were addressed how to develop our historic and cultural heritage, and we found a very interesting instrument of public and private partnership. Due to this instrument, we can preserve and we can make these cultural and historic things attractive. They are placed in different areas, so in some towns and villages, and this is a good opportunity for small and medium-sized business. New employment can be created, and some depressive, remote regions can be successful in this. And according to the rules, this should be developed, and this will improve and promote the development of the communities. We developed also a concept on tourism regions, and this is done not at national level because all the instruments were included at the national level, and now the local government should act. They should implement these instruments, and now the federation works on regional strategies to create regional tourism products, and at the same time we are working in these areas. Also, we may say that there is evolutionary way we can develop such area endlessly. And there is such an instrument as political will. And we search for partners. And we hope that we found such partners who understand the importance of tourism for the state, for the budget. And we hope that by our joint effort, we will be able to convince governmental bodies that this is important and it should be done really fast.
Necessary to put tourism on the highest level as a national priority, and I would like to thank you very much for your leadership on all the developments you described. Also, I would like to welcome Alexander from the SAGUR, from the Prime Minister Office, who is together with Mr. Ivan Miklos advising the government on all the business environment issues, and is a very strong partner also of our initiatives. and we would like to all the concrete things like legislative, regulatory, and all leadership requests also for Alexander to address, and then together to change the regulatory environment and ensure that all the stakeholders really have the right access. This is very important, and now it's very important, as you have said, tourism is not only, as Anton has outlined, the making Kyiv city very successful, but it's of course the main business card for the nation, but it has the potential to transform the whole beautiful country of Ukraine, from the Karpats to Lviv to Chernovitzy to the Black Sea. And now I would like to give the floor to the representative of the Rural Development the Association, and that's Mr. Vasily, yeah, exactly. Vasylyev. I would like to welcome you very much. It's very important to reach out to the whole nation and to include everybody. Please, we are looking very much forward to your presentation. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon. I'm really glad for this invitation to take part in this event. Brief presentation connected with what we have and what problems we face. If we are speaking about rural tourism, during the last 20 years, we see that it is developing, and there are many different areas, and we have in Slobozhizhny, Polisia, so they are in the market. We can see the trends and about legislative area that promotes this tourism, and we have this tourism in many parts of Ukraine. If we start, we can say that today we are the participants of UNDP project on reinforcement of business, and we may see the policies that are developed and the models, and we start to learn, and due to this project, till 2018 we will deal with this issue. And also I would like to say that this is a new product, new agrotourist product, and the psychological factor is included here. People who are in office, they do not clearly understand what this green rural tourism means. Because for 20 years we added green in order to show that this is important for ecology of the regions. And the most interesting, as in rural areas, that there are 4 million individual enterprises that are in the market, and this is a population who can be included in small and medium-sized business. And also about cultural and historic component, you know about it. This is really important. So next is it doesn't demand a lot of investment, and investors are tourists who come from the city or from different country, and this is the main investor, and we should provide information in rural areas in order that people they could use resources in order to become successful, taking into account experience of people who implemented these things and have their clients already. So about multifaceted aspects of the tourism. So historic, cultural heritage, architecture, crafts. So these are all interesting, attractive things in rural areas, because people who live in the cities, they do not know about many things that are in the rural areas. So we study experience of European countries. We studied the experience of European tourism, and each sign shows a level of services, and the guarantees of security and safety. We created such a sign, such a logo. So this is the first program, and the next program is Zelena Sadyba, it is called. So they position themselves on the market, and they start from the basic level, and then they go to first, second, and levels that are in the market. Next, I will show by these logos. So for those who do not speak Ukrainian, we show what is provided by each household in the villages. So you may see it on the slide. So Ukrainian hospitality in rural areas is the attractive component. People come there for hospitality. The evolution of those areas. So you see the basic level. So they maybe do not look really great, but people are hospitable there. They provide services, and you see now the first level. And there the situation is better. This is the first category. The architecture changes, and the second category is better, and third category is what we should aspire to create such market in 10 or 20 years that the majority of the houses were at such level, not maybe European, but Ukrainian architecture. And also I would like to say that now we deal with the issues of legislative support to preserve the rights, and there is a draft law in the Supreme Council that broadens the definition of rural tourism. This is housing, then it is also catering, and also this is historic and cultural things. So.
It's exactly the Austrian model. I'm totally happy about this presentation, and I would like to say, you know, we need the elite of a country has to love its country as well, and not just to go to Austrian Alps and to say it's beautiful. There's a reason why it's beautiful in Austria. It was also poor in the past, and we have done exactly this, yeah? The gradual upward circle of economic development in the rural areas, and this is very good, and thanks a lot for that. And now we come to the Association of Ukrainian Adventure and Ecotourism. This is also very important because also must be activities done during the day, and this is very important stakeholder for us. Please, Mr. Sergey. Okay, sorry. Then, okay, good. I'm to the next.
Його немає.
Activist founder of Interesting Kyiv. Yeah? We have already talked about this beautiful Byzantine and treasures of Kyiv. It's a very interesting city. I think you also will outline some of the specialities. Thanks a lot, and we are looking forward to your presentation. The floor is yours.
Okay, thanks a lot. Дякую дуже. Радий всіх вітати.
I'm glad to greet our audience, and I would like to talk about sightseeing tours, how they are implemented in Kyiv. As Mr. Taranenko said, 3 or 4 years ago, the flow of tourists was lower, and they were mostly from Russian Federation. But the reality has changed, and I'm proud that we now are successfully reformatting, and our company has reformatted, and we now have the same volumes of sightseeing tours as before the Revolution of Dignity. We found other profiles of tourists talking about global trends on the sightseeing tours markets in the whole world, in the marketplaces. people switch from organized tourism, where 20 to 30 people groups were formed and such organized tours were conducted. Now we see people switch to individual tourism and they are contracted via a web network. This helps people to plan their travels in advance, and they tourists can choose the trips which they like, the customized package of sightseeing tours. I think that in Kyiv there will be also trends to shift to low cost. We hope that low cost airlines will be allowed to operate in Ukraine. This will also give the increase in tourist flow. So when tourists switch to online booking, the tourism also changed, so they are the modern trends in sightseeing tours. Previously, people were interested in historical heritage, how to get to, they wanted to know the history of cities. Now people want to know not only the history, they can read it in Wikipedia. They want performance, they want action, they want to be active. You can see here the photo of theatralized, dramatized excursion. We have such sightseeing tours in Kyiv, such as the walking with the ownership of the old pub. A person can take part in interactive on. The next trend is sports tours. You know that the whole world goes in for healthy life standards, healthy lifestyles. That is why there is a new trend in the world of running tours and other tours related to different types of sports. We launched kayak tours in Kyiv this year. Up to 1,000 people bought tours on kayaks, but it is still underused in Kyiv. We should increase. We should improve and enhance this tourism. And you know also that thousands of tourists, they want to see Chernobyl. Every year, every month we have thousands of tourists, but we can demonstrate them not only Chernobyl, we can demonstrate them the trolley in Kyiv, which can bring you from one bank on the Dnipro River to the other. We have different extremal sports. There is also gastro-tourism, which is developing now. People want to have to taste Ukrainian cuisine. And we have a lot to offer. We are a hospitable country, and chicken Kyiv is known all over the world, as well as borscht, vareniki, and other traditions of other peoples living in Ukraine. We also offer Crimean Tatar cuisine in Kyiv. And then
I want to thank you very much, Mr. Finberg. The situation is, you are totally right. You know, the activities are the key, and what you are outlining is very important in the multi-stakeholder approach to see the efforts. Thanks a lot for this, and this fits very much in the agenda. And now to come to one hotel owner from the Art Hotel, who is representing the business aspects and has invested himself in a hotel, and we are very much looking forward to your contribution. And you see the concept, all stakeholders united. Every aspect is important and has to be taken into consideration. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you for invitation on this process. Дякую за запрошення.
Thank you for invitation. My name is Oleksiy Yevchenko, and I am an advisor to the Ministry of Economic Development and Trade, and I would like to add on the development of tourism in our country. My colleagues said a lot about the achievements, but I want to accent the problems which we face now. The main thing is to switch from declarations to practices. A lot of talks we have about development of tourism, but the situation just otherwise. We have a lot of obstacles to the development of tourism in Ukraine. In the Ministry of Finance, we have not just mere opponent. They are fighting against development of tourism. In the Vice Prime Minister Stepan Kubev headed the meeting where the Ministry of Finance they were objected financing of tourism sector. That is very important to develop tourism. It will bring profits, but the Ministry of Finance doesn't want to listen to us. They continue to defend their stand. They provide only 30 million investment. If we only get this money which are budgeted, this would be very good for us. Why they oppose us in the Ministry of Finance? Because the President and Prime Minister of the country, they are not engaged in development of tourism in our country. If we have political will, as Tetiana said, we will be now in the middle of the way, but now we are even not at the beginning of our way to development. Our country can't promote itself. In other countries we have obstacles because the Cabinet of Ministers issued the ban on funding any fairs and exhibitions abroad. If this obstacle is not lifted, then to develop tourism will be impossible. Our country also has legislative bans. The government doesn't want to develop it, and the public can't do this. We want to develop tourism locally, but we can't take functions and mechanisms of the state. We can't do something instead of regulators. We do our best. I was at the very beginning of the development of tourism sector when the coordination council was established and also in the Verkhovna Rada. I took part in the competition, but our efforts, this is not enough. So what we should do? What next steps we should do? Foreign specialists and experts, they are heard much better in our countries than our domestic aspects. That is why thank you, Mr. Gunther, for putting so many efforts in developing this sector, and we hope with your assistance and the European Commission and European Union delegation assistance to communicate today's message is that the tourism is a real driver of the economy, and for Ukraine to have this driver, we should made foundation and to develop it, and we propose to our the Ministry of Finance in order not to use national budget, they just can issue a law which would bring us 5 or 6 billions more to develop tourism, sport, culture, like in all developed countries. We offered that this law will bring additional proceeds to the budget for the development of tourism. This as concerns the state efforts in the development of tourism. As concerns hotels, thank you to Mr. Taranenko for his figures. As concerns the tourism tax, which is in the budget of local communities, the figures demonstrate that the effect from tourism locally today, it is not estimated by the Ministry of Finance. That is why economic impact of tourism onto the state, they just don't estimate, they don't assess this profit. That is why they say, the Ministry of Finance says that the tourism doesn't make any influence on economic profits of the country. Investments, they start with drinking coffee in the cafe and by an investor of the hospitality in the hotels, in public transport facilities. Hotels are abundant in Ukraine. There are more than 4,000 facilities, but due to imperfect legislation and the position of the Ministry of Economy, although I am an advisor of the Ministry of Economy, I can say that in reporting, we have 380 hotels, although in reality we have 4,000 hotels. Assessment of categories of hotels in the world, they follow international rules, but these international rules, they have not been implemented in Ukraine at the national level to develop the tourism. Tourist community has been put in lots of efforts, but we need your assistance, Mr. Gunther, and we need assistance of the European Commission and other international institutions which will communicate best practices to our leaders. Mr. President, who declares tourism as one of the vectors of one of the priorities in strategic development of the country. We should do our best for our ministries and agencies not to put obstacles for the development of tourism in Ukraine. Thank you.
And thanks for your political support and for your leadership, also for your compliments. And really, it makes a big impact to focus on tourism, because it liberates the economic forces of many. And that's, different. Politicians always want to have one big project, but let's have 1,000 medium projects, and the whole country is blossoming. This is what we can achieve together. Thanks a lot. It was very good. Now some concrete examples from the regions. I would like to welcome Volodymyr to present your project for regional development, because all regions will profit from tourism. Thanks a lot.
So Tetiana and Oleksiy, I'm thankful to them for this really important things they made in tourism area using approach from top to bottom, and this is a great job that demands a lot of effort. I worked for 4 years in the cabinet of ministers, and I understand the importance of this and that the processes are going hard there and it requires a lot of effort. But my experience shows that you can start from bottom and use a bottom-up approach, what it gives. So we should get involved and change the mentality of people in order not to get opposition from people. People should be involved in the discussions. They should feel their contribution in a large cause, and they help a lot, and they develop this area together with local government, together with activists and civil society organizations. And also I would like to tell you about our experience. We had 10 months in Bila Tsekva. We started when we joined the team that created a strategy. We were involved in the preparation of strategy for the development of town. The document was adopted by City Council January this year, and it is actively implemented now. And in the course of creation of the strategy, we invited foreign experts and community was involved. 8 meetings were held in order to discuss different areas. There were 2 platforms, and about 2,000 people participated. These were constant discussions. We took into account the ideas of local residents. That's why residents of this town, they see it as their grassroots level project, not just that was imposed to them by the authorities. And we need active young people who understand how to implement it and want change. And we should so to say, create such people. And we realized the project on donor money, and we had 30 people, locals, and we just taught them how to write projects, how to attract investment, and some of them are now working on the realization of the strategy. And also we understood that we need this people, and we created agency for the development of the city, supported by mayor. They get better salary than average in the city, and they are motivated to change the situation. This is one of the aspects. So the second aspect is the development of small and medium-sized business. The strategy has 4 key directions, and small and medium-sized business is one of these directions. So there is a program developed, and local council will soon adopt this, and also business community was included in the development of the document. And this is from the side of the power. And as community, we organized the school for the development of SMEs, and there were 3 courses, and people got general knowledge on business disciplines, and also they were supported in writing their own projects. Also, there will be a platform where people would be able to inform the residents about what they do with services and products they can provide. And also we want to create a business community. We want to have lecturers to hold meetings where people could share their experience. And also tourism is one of the key areas and the mechanisms in the development of small and medium-sized businesses. And in the strategy of the city, tourism is one of the key elements. Local residents saw three key areas of the development of tourism: information, event, and professional components. In each, we develop jointly with communal enterprises, the Agency of Development, we develop projects, and in the future we will send these projects to donor organizations to get finances. Unfortunately, local budget is very limited and they cannot provide. That's why we actively involve local business, big organizations, and they are really want to cooperate, and we hope that we will be able to expand this activity.
I see that a top-level guy like you with a political background is now going to the regional level to really help with all your competence and all your political connections as well. This is a sign that decentralization works. And again, as I have said, decentralization only works effectively with good SME and tourist politics side by side. And suddenly prosperity will come to the region. Thanks, Volodymyr, for your excellent presentation.
Thank you.
And we will work together in the future also on that aspect. And now we come to the second representation from the regional level. Please, the floor is to Mykola, please. You're very welcome. Show us your regional success project.
Доброго дня. Дякую за запрошення.
Thank you very much. I represent Sokoliny Hutir. I'm owner of Green Tourism Location. And we are near Kachanovka, Trostanets, Sokirinci, and we thank Gunther that he is helping us because this we have experience for 20 years. We created this on the basis of master plans, and we started to analyze the situation, and we see that state do not support properly tourism, and Kachanovka is 32,000. It was previously now 18,000 tourists a year, so we may see that this is depressive area, but you know the transport infrastructure, roads is of importance, but the main is specialists, because state enterprises, for example, Kachanovka Park, they do not have professionals. They do not see tourism as priority. And in 2020, I wrote a project for development of Kachanovka, and my project was one of the best, but they said they are not interested. And they have some good sites, and they can create good opportunities for the tourists, and it can be used properly. And the experience of different countries, they're important for Ukraine and for those who work in this area and who try to revive historic heritage. And in 20 years, we restored 2 museums, and we also revived the cinema hall and the houses that are of 150 years. And we implement the projects, but you know that education is important, and we cannot do it by ourselves. And we address the council and the city and the Oblast council. And after the Revolution of Dignity, people came to office, young people, new leaders, and they see the development of tourism differently, and we hope for change. And it is understandable that the grants it's difficult to obtain them, and you know that it's difficult, for example, in Chernigivshina to implement this, because those institutions and businesses, they have grant system. It will be difficult to develop this in such depressive locations as Chernigivshina. And we have ecology, environment, architecture, and all other important aspects. We have, and of course, we should invest in parks, in infrastructure, and also the Ministry of Education or Ministry of Culture is underfinanced, and the other ministries. So that's why we have several minutes to present the video in order to show our work that we have done. Sokoliny Hut, you're welcome.
Good, thanks a lot, Mikola. We have to close it now. I would like to thank you very much for this very special, and I also want to go there with my family. This is really very beautiful what you have done, and this is really how it works. And I call, you know, every well-developed cultural heritage project, send it to the American ambassador, send it to the European ambassador, because this is exactly what the international community will certainly do. It's just a question how well prepared they are, how long it will take. But, you know, we have basically done most of the cultural heritage of the Balkan is rebuilt now with American and EU fund, and the same will happen in Ukraine, I'm confident. And this will be the future. So thanks a lot, Mikola. This is really very good project, and we're looking forward to close cooperation. And now I would like to invite Julia to present especially again the castles and the PPP models and the cultural heritage. And I want to announce very soon we will do an extra event about cultural heritage and tourism, because this is one of the most important aspects. Thanks a lot, Julia. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Gunther. Дорогі друзі, дуже рада вам.
Dear friends, I'm really glad to represent our project. This is the project of castle management through the mechanism of public-private partnership. And Tetiana deliberated on this issue, and we have this project jointly with the Association of Employers, and this is concerning important aspects for any tourism, and this is the heritage, historic heritage, castles, and these are not only castles as they are, but also palaces and parks, some houses, any objects that can be in this category. Firstly, I would like to state the problem that we have as of today. In Ukraine, we have more than 100 castles that are cultural and historic heritage. Now they are run by a state, and the financing and the preservation is at the low level. And we heard it during our panel, and the advisor to the minister brightly represented this problem to us. Our project is directed to provide alternative way of financing for such castles. This is private financing, and aim to attract private investment in order to preserve this cultural heritage and in order to build a modern, profitable cultural, to create cultural and touristic product. And this is a public and private partnership. So, for example, private partner can invest based on a contract, and this is joint agreements and also concession agreements, so there is no privatization because privatization is banned, and for some time this facility is provided to they provide investment, they and the community can benefit from this, the region can benefit from this. So Gunther asked to show some real examples of these castles, and you know that this is Khotin Castle that is in communal property, and this is the example of castle that is a fortress really, and it is in rather good shape. So there are some work done, and there is also an exhibition hall. There are opportunities to buy some souvenirs, but we cannot see that it is developed in a really good way. So there is no good road, there is no restaurant where the tourists could stay, and so there are some drawbacks. The next is, I can say that this is just a marvelous piece of architecture. This is Goretsky Castle in Lviv Oblast. This is a pearl of architecture, and scientists agree that this is really a great castle, and this is a pearl not only of Ukrainian but also of European architecture. And this castle is a very bad state, and it is closed, and if you have the opportunity to reach it, you will just stay as this boy in the picture, because this castle is closed for visitors. And this castle can become one of the parts of our project, because the Ministry of Culture wants to make this facility for public and private partnership projects. And this Sakena mentioned, so you see the condition of this facility. So this will be just ruins, and sometimes maybe picturesque, but still ruins. So we have a team of the project. This is a platform of public and private partnership that I represent, and the Federation of Employers and Specialists on Tourism in Ukraine, and the European expert company that will provide European expertise to our project, the results of the project that we want to reach. First, to attract private funds in order to develop these facilities, and also for SMEs this can be a new market, new opportunities for business. Also, we want to create a modern tourist project and to preserve this cultural and historic heritage, and that can be a driver for the economic development of the region, business activity, and the development of agricultural areas. So we have a concept and a plan of the project. We have a team of the project. We have the cooperation with Ministry of Economy and the Ministry of Culture. We have formalized our relationship, and also the ministry proposed several castles that can be included in the project. What we want to do, we plan for each of this castle to develop an investment package and to calculate the investment and tourism capabilities, and to create a roadmap for private and public partnership, and to represent this roadmap presented to state institutions, to investors, to communities, and then to implement these projects. And we invite for cooperation.
You show the outline, and I want to thank you very much. Wonderful castles, a lot of opportunities, modern solutions, European-style investments possible, and that will be very attractive. Thanks a lot, Julia. I would like to say at this roundtable we have shown the SMEs issues here, what can be done together with the financing sector, the leadership of the ministry, the political will is very important. Also that the city, this is very important, that Kyiv as the business card of the country, the main point is really doing such a great effort, and also in the regions the power of tourism is very strong. You have a lot of cultural heritage. This will be our next initiative. I want to welcome also the gentleman from the NGO for Cultural Heritage to work on cultural heritage and tourism, to really bring everything in good condition and then to market it well, make it user-friendly, and also the whole country to work along the value chain upwards in tourism sector. This has worked everywhere basically, and it will also turn Ukraine into a very successful country. I would like now all the speakers to invite to a group photo here, and then we will be downstairs for a coffee actually together and for some networking also with Alexander. If you have concrete things, Alexander will then also in the regulatory effort follow up on that one. And we will together with Pablo, I would like to thank you very much for organizing this roundtable, and Tetiana, and with the Federation to work very intensively in 2017 together to make tourism a national priority and to make it very successful SME-focused Ukraine. Thanks a lot for this roundtable, and thanks a lot to the Ukrainian Crisis Media Center for hosting us again. Thank you, Valentin, and looking very much forward. Now the photo and then the coffee together. Thanks a lot.